I love the Super League. I think best idea in the world. That's what I say.
So what exactly is the European Super League? This is a proposed continental football competition intended to replace the existing Champions League and will be formed by 12 founding members, the Big Six in England, Arsenal, Chelsea, Liverpool, Manchester City, Manchester United and Tottenham, 3 clubs from Spain, Atletico Madrid, Barcelona and Real Madrid, and 3 from Italy, AC Milan, Inter Milan and Juventus. Eventually, this will expand to 15 fixed members and 5 qualifiers every year. So to understand the furore behind this proposal, you need to know how the European football ecosystem usually works. Every country has its own league, and every season the teams that finish at the top will qualify for the Champions League. So let's use the example of the English Premier League. Last season, the top 4 in the Premier League, Liverpool, Manchester City, Manchester United and Chelsea qualified for the Champions League through their own results and merit. The Champions League would then include top teams from countries across Europe, as varied as Portugal, Denmark and the Ukraine. Back to the Premier League, and there is a mechanism here that's missing in the proposed Super League, and that's relegation. So in the 20-team Premier League, the bottom 3 teams are relegated to the league below, called the Championship, where 3 teams are then promoted in their place, therefore allowing a so-called semblance of social mobility for football clubs. The main criticism of the Super League lies in the fact that it's a closed shop, so no relegation for the founding members even if they were to completely suck that season, and therefore this shuts the door unfairly on successful clubs who find themselves outside of the exclusive club of 15. Rightly so, there has been a backlash from football pundits and media personalities in the UK, and there have been protests outside football clubs as well. Welcome back to another episode of Football Armchair Experts, where we pretend to know everything, but actually we know nothing. So here with us to share their opinions, we are global fans. Maybe we have different opinions from those in the UK. Liverpool fan Imran, Chelsea fan Robin, Newcastle fan Manjun, and I myself, Mark, I'm a Fulham fan. So European Super League.
Pardon me for wanting to see the whole world burn. Football is getting a bit boring.
Wait. Your mic got a lot of echo.
Really?
So much controversy. You are
no.
how about now? You're reverbing yourself.
You're announcing it in the empty stadium. It's like
Firstly, right, if there's no Big Six, why my Singtel cars will be half price next year? So that's one good thing. Other than that, I have no comments for Super League.
That's it.
Oh my god, just got to half price.
Okay, I guess Liverpool fan and Chelsea fan from the other side of the world, do you have similar thoughts as those as in the UK?
I think in general, most football fans will be in agreement with what the media is saying about it. I think some parts of it make sense, but some doesn't. So the one that doesn't is the one where like, oh, there's no relegation, no nothing, then you just forever be the league, right? Founding club's perspective, maybe they should explain a bit more how that's gonna help football as they see it, right? Like the obvious one is just like, oh, UEFA has a monopoly over like all these European competitions, so and they are not governing it well, which is why like the clubs are coming out and like saying like, oh, we can do a better job. So, but beyond all these like, very superficial stuff, right? I don't think they've gone into the detail of how it's actually going to work, how it's actually going to benefit people. They say they're going to get more money, like then they can like pass money down to the other clubs, but that's not answering a lot of the questions. Right?
I think there was one interview with Florentino Perez. I think
right. He said he said it's like saving football.
I mean,
right?
it's true. I mean, I think it's pure bull because what he's saying is that the Champions League is not economically viable. So like they are earning money in the Champions League. So then Champions League is not earning money and it's a sort of a monopoly. Then now you want to go create another big 12 monopoly on your own to help football. Like, I don't really get his thinking. I mean, I get it as a businessman, but then
I think I don't personally support the European Super League, but I think this is what their perspective is. I think this is similar to the Premier League also, that a lot of these clubs, at least maybe these foreign owners, feel that a lot of their clubs are the big draw of the Premier League or of the Champions League. And sometimes, I think in terms of the Premier League at least, in terms of the broadcasting revenue, is split evenly amongst all teams. And then after that, there's a portion which is rewarded based on your the position you finish. So they feel as if they maybe should get a bigger slice of the Premier League broadcasting revenue. For those like in Spain and Italy, their broadcasting revenue isn't as big as the Premier League. So they're going to want to have to like, hey, now we bring in all these Man U, Man City is not a good example. Man U, Liverpool teams come in, and then people will want to watch. They pay a bigger price for it, and then they are able to split it more between themselves. They don't have to share with the Zenit St. Petersburg and the Shakhtar Donetsk of the world in that sense. So I sort of get what he means. Like he's the Perez as the owner of Real Madrid. Like you feel as if you're the big draw. Why am I not getting paid for it?
I think like one of the pundits on ESPN actually makes a very good point that no one else seems to be making. Like fundamentally, what do you believe like the football ecosystem is? And it's like a philosophical question. And it's like, do you feel that the clubs are responsible for their own revenues and fame and everything, right? Like, yes, like we are the ones bringing in the money, so we should get a larger part of the pie. Or do you feel that they are part of a larger, like the football pyramid where, yes, they're at the top, right? And it's supposed to trickle down, but they are also getting supported by the bottom clubs because they are the ones that set like all the storylines and everything, right? So if you are part of the football pyramid, you should be giving back some of the share of the money, right? Like my thoughts is that okay, your success is based on playing all these other clubs, right? Even though they're not as big as you, but it's like across like these several decades or like even a century, right? It's like through all these countless games, you reach where you are now. You cannot discount like all the other clubs. Yeah, you can't be like, okay, I'm the biggest draw now, right? And then I deserve all the money now. Like to some extent, you can understand that because if you look at it from a business point of view and like just purely on the numbers, you'll be seeing like, okay, this is like our. You can calculate like how much is the share of the viewership of the whole Premier League based on like, how much is based on like your club in general. I mean your club as one like entity and like the whole like Big Six as a whole. So it's like you'll be like, oh shit. Actually all these other games, right? You're giving like all the other clubs so much more viewership. Like the games where they play you, right, will be their top viewership for every season.
Well, with my club being embroiled in this, I'm very disappointed that they've actually agreed to be part of the founding members. I personally am not a fan of it. I mean, if I was a kid, maybe I would be a fan because this is the thing that we would do as kids, playing FIFA with our friends, creating a custom tournament. These are the teams you would add in your 20, and this is what you would play in a game. But after thinking about it and it being a possibility in real life, I'm actually not that excited or enthused about the whole idea that you get to play Real Madrid, Barcelona almost every other week, every year. Because I think part of the excitement that comes from facing these big teams is the draw that you never know who you're going to get in the Champions League, right? Like when Bayern Munich came out, then the next team you see Arsenal, then like, oh, everyone's very excited. It's going to be a goal fest. Arsenal's going to get wrecked. With that said, right, why is Arsenal even considered a big six? Ridiculous. They've not even made to Europe the past few years. They struggled. I mean, even Chelsea, right? This is the first semi-final we've hit in a long while. So it's very questionable how the teams were selected in the first place. So when people like Perez comes out to say it's for the fans, just compare with the reactions from the fans now. How can it be for the fans? It's clearly bullshit, right? But at least I think he's quite clear that it's also a business thing and that revenues are his first concern. So respect on that front. He's at least honest about the money aspect. And it's very blatant for us to see lah. And I think for clubs, it's very hard to say no when you're invited because when you join, you straight away get a 300 million euro, I think, bounty. It's like JP Morgan giving you free money. Take lah, right? Why would you reject? And there's a lot of pressure from COVID, I get it. But if they really cared about the fans who are the ones giving them money, because after all, football has become more an entertainment value for the fans rather than just pure sport, they should not go ahead with it lah. So everyone's like loving the German clubs and Paris because they stuck their ground and they were true.
Somehow the media is portraying like UEFA and FIFA as like the good
guys.
guys. Yeah. But it's actually just pick your poison lah. It's like, and I think on the kickoff, that's what one of them say. I think it's quite true. They say like, okay, for example, FIFA, right? They've been fucking over the small clubs also essentially after they formed the Premier League, and then with how they are selling, like they allow the sale of like, for example, like Chelsea to Roman Abramovich maybe, and and like, allowing all these like American investors, like Russian investors, or like this Middle Eastern investors to come in, like all these billionaires to come and take over the club and like give them so much power. So like in a sense, they are like screwing over the small clubs because like they get so much more power within the league. And then now it's like some other bigger fish is coming over to screw them over in the same way. And then now they're just like, then they realize, hey shit, like we are like complicit in it lah. It's like
actually I a bit disagree with that. I think, to be honest, okay, yes, obviously no Russian oligarch is gonna come in and take over. I'm gonna offend a club here. Barnsley. Hopefully not a lot of Barnsley fans. But so I mean, yes, in a way, your team is not gonna be viable for foreign takeover unless you become a decent size. Then maybe some foreign rich owner will come in and say, okay, maybe there's this potential in this club. I want to take over. But arguably, Leicester were taken over. I think only a few years after they got promoted from League One to the Championship, got taken over by a Thai owner and got brought up to the Premier League. Of course, not an American or Russian owner of that kind of level, but it is still sort of rich within the mid-tier kind of level of club. And in a way, it's how much you position your team to be viable to be taken over by a foreign owner. So I think there is still a bit of fairness in terms of that. I mean, so long as they play within like the realms of, still within the Premier League, within the Championship, and they don't have too much power over the league, which is what, probably what these owners are trying to go for. Even if they don't eventually create a Super League, they want more say in the Premier League, more say in the Championship, or more revenue from it. So I mean, for me, I feel it's a little bit, okay, it's not a conspiracy theory, but I think it's also because a lot of the clubs that are really pushing for this, right, majority of them are not really getting Champions League year in, year out. I think for Bayern Munich and PSG, pretty much is Champions League guaranteed. They're going to finish in their top 4 and top 3 respectively in the league. Arsenal are, possibly missing out on Europe totally for the first time in 25 years. So definitely this is a way into Europe for them, even though probably they'll finish bottom of the table each time.
Spurs,
Spurs,
Yeah,
of course,
Spurs.
Spurs, of course, they're gonna accept it, because like maybe if this was created 10 years ago, no way Spurs will get in.
I think that's one of the criticisms, right? Like how do they even choose the clubs to get in? It's like purely on the financial part of it, because
correct.
And even with the financial part, it's like teams like Spurs only recent years only. Right? If you go back a few years, it's like top 4 only. Even before like just 10 years ago, there's no Man City, just like top 4.
I think it's the same even in Italy and Spain. Barca and Real Madrid obviously financially not doing well. In Italy, Juve might miss out on the Champions League for the first time in a long time. They lost to Atalanta this weekend. Milan, 3 seasons in a row already in the Europa League. Not say they're doing well also. And Man U and Inter Milan are good examples of flopping very badly this season in the Champions League. They both got knocked out in the group stage. So are these teams qualified enough to be able to say that, what, we must get a seat at the top table every season? I'm not sure that it's a compelling case. In American sports, they want the biggest everything all jammed into one league. In that sense, like, oh, okay, basketball is a good example of a sport that you have non-stop action for, like, I'm not even sure how long is a basketball game. Is it 60 minutes? I'm not sure.
It's 48 minutes.
Okay, 4 times 12 lah. I thought it was 4 times 15. So clearly not a basketball fan. I think it's sort of an Americanization of football, because they don't really like the fact that, I think we'll be very honest, some games are boring, but in the Champions League also, you have goalless draws also. And of course you have dead rubbers also. So I think there's no way you can get around that. I think the counterpoint to that is that all you're aiming for is to finish, okay, let's say it works exactly like US sports. If it's a 20-team league, you finish in the top 8 to finish in the playoffs at the end of the season. So what if, say, Arsenal, I'm pretty sure they're not going to do well in this league. Say they cannot make top 8, like clearly, like after maybe 10 games. Then what are they going to do in this league? Just play reserves. After all, it's just going to be meaningless already. You're not fighting relegation. You're not fighting for a top 8 place. What are you really doing there? So I think in a sense in the US, it's not a big issue. Also because they got the draft system also lah. Because if you don't do well, you will get the best players the following season. Would these football teams want to do that? I'm pretty sure no lah. So you have, not saying the US system is perfect also, but if you want to adopt that, you have to take everything.
One thing I can comment about the US system, right, is that similar. Let's say you have a 20 team Premier League with the Man U's and the Man City and the Spurs and the Arsenals. So eventually, like as time goes by, the big market teams like Man U and Chelsea, they will still be the ones that sort of get more attention and get more of they get a bigger piece of the pie lah. Because they are the kind of things that people want to watch ma. Those kind of things. So I guess like American model or not, like I still feel the big teams will still end up winning more lah. Because it's the same as American sport. Is that there are, even though let's say basketball, there are 32 teams. Okay, but then end of the day, the big market teams are the ones that still get more money, get more fans, get more ticket sales, get more attention across the world. So like maybe teams like from like New York, they probably get more attention than teams downstairs in like Charlotte area. I don't know where is that even.
I guess this is what I was thinking about this. That say for example, if the FA Cup final ended up as two underdog teams, would as many people want to watch it from around the world? Maybe, of course, fans from those two teams will want to watch it. Say for example, it ends up being like Wigan versus Portsmouth. Are you going to watch Wigan versus Portsmouth even though it's an FA Cup final? Probably not lah. But at what point are you going to rig it such that the FA Cup final will always be big teams? So that's basically what the European Super League is about lah.
I mean, they are already making it very hard for Wiggins to win the FA Cup if they go through the first round.
Correct.
So I guess.
Yeah, but in that sense, you give these teams an equal opportunity to possibly upset a big team also. Whereas rather than you completely make it a close shot and then like, oh, okay, the Champions League final every year will be Barcelona versus Real Madrid. Nobody else gets in. That kind of thing.
International Champions Cup, that one.
Correct. Because then exactly then it becomes an International Champions Cup kind of thing, right? What?
I guess that's how the NBA is like, right? It's like every year it's like Kobe Bryant and LA Lakers when he was there, then and they still managed to make that work. But yeah, I get what you mean lah. Maybe people they want to see more of a spectacle, whereas football is like more of the history and like the meritocracy and how the small team can beat the big teams. Yeah, I think the main problem for the ESL is really the close shot thing. I don't see how that like it just removes the competitiveness from the whole thing. I don't know how the US people can stand it. Maybe to them it's like they don't care. It's like shit, this team every year last one, then they don't really care. They just wait for the big teams to play each other in the playoffs or something, which I think they do. So
I guess maybe I think Manjun asked me this. How come we never ask him on this? Because Arsenal are probably, this is going to also offend a lot of Arsenal fans, probably the weakest team that have been invited into this 12.
To be honest, only like people who actually like follow football closely who actually care about this. Because end of the day, Arsenal still have mass appeal in that sense. So I guess that's all that matters in ESL.
So it's not really Arsenal are the weakest squad, but it's like Arsenal
I guess
the name.
You can say they're the weakest squad, but they're one of the more recognized teams. You say Arsenal, any freaking kopitiam uncle will also know it's Arsenal. You know what I mean?
it goes back to the financial part lor.
Correct. So I guess it's more or less like, are you playing with brands rather than clubs lah?
Yeah, in the sense it's more of brands. Arsenal is a huge brand. They won't go away.
Okay, yeah. I guess mainly our issue is with the fact that there is no relegation. Manjun and I have done a video on coping with relegation. You can check that out if you are curious.
No tears involved. Just pure banter.
Okay. Yeah, but in the meantime, I mean, okay. Say for example, I think it's interesting if you look at it from your own point of view. So I guess maybe can start with Manjun. Will this benefit Newcastle?
That's a very good question. I mean, I wouldn't think so lah. Like I feel in the grand scheme of things, like the only reason why people globally, except Newcastle fans, like the only reason why people globally would be interested in Newcastle because they are facing a Liverpool and a Man U in the midweek in that weekend. So in terms of growing our brand, I would say that it's a huge what's the way you call it? It's a no-go lah. It's a bad move. Yeah. But to me, speaking as a casual, because I am a casual fan, like I want this European Super League to happen. Like I feel like this model has been here for so many years. This Champions League model, this Europa League model. Then suddenly UEFA want to come up with some stupid Europa Conference League that will somehow fix the whole goddamn thing. So, I mean, it allows fairness lah. But to be honest, to make things more exciting, just like I feel real change only comes when like you get really pushed the corner. So I think maybe UEFA and FIFA can come up with some brilliant idea to settle this. because they get pushed to the corner by Edward and his boys.
Okay, we've not name dropped so far other than Florentino Perez, but okay, yeah. Edward was also one of the co-conspirators when it comes to this. Right from the start, Chelsea and Man City were not the instigators of this, they were invited into it. So do you think, do Chelsea benefit from this?
They definitely benefit, but in the long run, probably not sustainable model. Because if the fans are already so up in arms about it, the viewership, I think, will naturally drop. They will just boycott and not support this tournament. Then naturally, sponsorships will lose the reason to sponsor the event. So JP Morgan will eventually pull out. Then no one else will be willing to sponsor. No matter how big the clubs are in, there's no viewership, no eyeballs on your brands. So no reason to offer money and support this tournament anymore, right? So I think they have a huge fight to even get it approved in the first place, lah. No matter how stubborn they are. I struggle to see them pushing through successfully because I think there'll be huge protests. They are lucky that fans cannot go to the stadiums, but I think Leeds are already like protesting outside the stadium. So, and the players are wearing the t-shirts during the warm-ups to, peaceful protest, right? About football is for the fans, stuff like that. And it's going to add like a whole new fatigue level for players. Now already complaining fixture congestion. You want to add another league. That's another 38 games for all the players. They're going to go mad. So the quality of football will drop also.
In fact, actually, before I get to Inran about Liverpool, one of the Guardian articles also was saying interesting scenario if they were to include all these European Super League matches. So a lot of these bigger teams will be playing their full squads in the European Super League because they don't have to qualify for the European Super League. So they will end up playing their, say for example, they get their cake and eat it too. They get to play still in the Premier League. They end up playing their reserves in the Premier League. Maybe you get like Man U finishing 13th, Liverpool finishing 14th, that kind of thing. But it really doesn't matter. And then the team that actually does finish top, say for example, is Leicester finish top. They will qualify to then be able to compete with these clubs that finish 13th and 14th in the Premier League. So it's a little bit of a actual irony there. I'm not sure how they are able to not see this, because I think basically it will only ever happen one way is that it's either they stay in the Premier League and not have the Super League, or they join the Super League and not have the Premier League. I think it's hard to have both. I think maybe based on the fact that we are not UK fans, there are fans in Asia like China, Japan, in Southeast Asia and all that. They won't really. I think I'm going to be quite honest. I think they don't really care about the Newcastle or the Fulhams, that kind of thing. There are going to be global fans still tuning into this competition, and the Asian audience is pretty big. They can sustain themselves that way first. Then maybe after a while, the British, the European audience will start to, you know what? Let's give this a go. Let's try it out.
I think that's where I will have to slightly disagree with Robin, because like he said, I think like the viewership will go down, but what they're going for with this is to increase their viewership. But it's like getting more casual fans into the game at the expense of like the dedicated fans that were there since the beginning. I think I also heard that from one of the shows. I don't know which fan it was saying. It's like,
everybody has had their view.
This is called a paraphrase podcast.
Yeah.
This is where we summarize everything for you.
I mean, obviously you have to hear that from somewhere for us to make our judgment, right?
Also,
like to collect the information.
Next time we don't quote the people, we just say it's our own. Wow, very insightful podcast.
Yeah. But you're saying how it is like the owners essentially like betraying the fans that are in the stadium for a worldwide audience.
Yeah, so is that a worthy trade-off? So
they'll get more eyeballs. They'll get more.
They just want that confirmed revenue per year, right, from this league, which leaves a very, very bad taste as audience, as fans.
I mean, the revenue has to come from somewhere, and it's definitely going to come from like all the media deals. They're saying how like all the big media companies ready to bid for it already, and all that. But I think personally for me, not even as a Liverpool fan or whatever, like just as a football fan as a whole, I don't really see how it will work. Like you said, it's like the clash between the values of not values, but like the clash between like, okay, if you go ahead with the Super League, then it will invalidate your local league already. I mean the local like country leagues already, because like what are you playing for after that other than winning the league?
Yeah.
It's like you can have one winner and then like the other positions don't count for anything. Whereas now at least you are still playing for the Champions League. You have like you qualification for Champions League and the winner, right? It's not like for example every season Man City run off the title, then like what, nobody need to watch it. It's like there's no more storylines left. There's only either you win and the rest. And then like I don't see how that's gonna work lah. And then somehow they can work it in the system and until it's like it's like similar to Champions League. You have like top 4 can qualify and then all that. So I don't see how that's gonna work. Like the close shop thing where there's no relegation. It's just weird. It's like it goes against like the competitive spirit. And number 2, I don't think it's the right solution for the problem that they're trying to solve lah, which is that the more money part. But I think the more money part comes in because like the transfer deals and the wages of like all these players and like everything in football is just like getting like so crazy the price. It's like for big clubs like Real Madrid and Barcelona, yes, the Spanish league as a whole, right, they don't earn as much as the Premier League, but I would assume the top clubs also earn freaking a lot already. They're getting, I think Barcelona and Real Madrid already getting like 50% of the cut of like the whole Spanish league media, like the deals or something like that. But still Barcelona still like freaking $1 billion in debt because they want to buy players for 100 million and like giving them like all these crazy things, and then to support all these wages and all that. Like their solution to that is okay, we need to get more money. But it's like then what is like there's the never ending ceiling to that one. You like the bottom part will just keep pushing the top. Like the cost will keep pushing the need to get more revenue up, and then like you're gonna look somewhere else for the next like, oh, where's the money gonna fall from? Like I don't think that's a sustainable answer to it.
I mean, I guess you touched on upon it already. Like I think other than the fact that you have to be able to play good football, entertain your fans and all that, I think at the end of the day, part of it, I mean, some of us have played Football Manager also. Part of it is also to managing the finances also, ma. Like if you don't manage your finances and then your club goes into debt, you get points deduction, all this kind of thing, and then some clubs get relegated from the Premier League. That's the punishment for not managing your funds properly. Like Portsmouth have gone down because of that. It's part of the fairness also, ma. You get a certain amount of money, spend it well, then you will be able to be successful. Don't spend it well, you have to pay the price for it.
I don't think that's gonna work that much going forward. So nowadays, right, anytime there's a club in financial trouble, right, there are gonna be willing investors that will come in to buy the club. So
and okay, look, at the end of the day, if you have willing investors coming in to buy the club and manage to bail you out of like say if it's bankruptcy and all that, then okay maybe you've marketed your club well enough to be able to do that but the owners will change. The same owners don't get to stay on and be able to like, oh, we just spend more. It really doesn't matter how much debt we get into.
Yeah. So to me, that's like two of the main points. Or like it's like the close shop thing and how it affects the league as a whole. Like it just doesn't work. It's like the competitiveness is just gone, and it destroys a lot of like the other storylines within the domestic leagues. That's number one. And number two is like not a sustainable way to manage the problem which they are trying to solve. Right. I mean, that's to put it nicely. To put it bluntly, is that whatever they just want to earn as much money as possible. They're not even trying to solve anything on it.
You can call me a skeptical, but I think if let's say there are any changes, let's say this Super League really comes about, like I think with time, like the public, the fans will still like get used to it. I mean, it'll be the norm to have the Super League. Like people won't even remember back then how was it like. Only then maybe in the next 30 years there'll be old men like us. Hey, do you remember the good old days of the Premier League and there was fair competition? What is that? I thought it's only a Super League now. No, I mean, okay, the idea itself perhaps not the best, but I feel the fact that something is being initiated.
The shake-up.
The shake-up is good. But then if let's say the league really goes through, then I still feel that now because emotions are raging, everyone's talking about this. I mean, next time when Gary Neville is making millions of dollars doing this, you don't give a shit about what he's saying now. So
Manju had a theory on this, right?
Oh yes. It's the perfect theory, boys. I think you think that UEFA and FIFA and Ed Woodward are corrupt, right? They say this is the big ploy of Big Sam to make sure that West Brom doesn't go down. And I think it's perfect. His team will never go down. Even more corrupt than FIFA anyway. So I think maybe the Newcastle win against West Ham sort of triggered him. So that's why we just start now.
It's also very disrespectful to other clubs, like the other 5 who are rotating in and out. Even if they win their respective leagues, right? I think the 15 founding clubs will still look at them like, oh, you guys are like the...
Okay, special guest, come on.
Yeah, you guys are just the guests, you just hop on for the ride.
seat fillers, that's right.
Yeah. So it's a bit disrespectful, and it's not right for sport lah. It's elitism in a simple
But
way.
isn't the world all about elitism?
Sadly it is.
Capitalism
Yeah.
also.
I
That's
mean,
right.
Some people like to think that football is different from the world. And on a quote from The Guardian, I think pretty good quote, that's why I'm going to use it, by David Baddiel. It's a once everybody is super, nobody is. So hopefully you've enjoyed our roundup of our views of the European Super League. Yeah, and if you do have any comments, of course, write them in the comment section down below. If you like our material, go and have a look at our other videos as well. Even though we know nothing, hopefully today you've learned something. We'll see you again in our next video. Bye-bye.
yeah.